Hi Matt and Yandass. Just to kick us off, can you both introduce yourselves and your role within CYC's Everything All of the Time?
Yeah. So I'm Yandass. I'm a dancer, an actor, a choreographer, and a director. But in this process, I'll be working as a choreographer alongside a great team and Matt.
Hey, I'm Matt Fenton. I'm artistic director at Contact, and I'm also directing the show alongside Yandass.
Amazing. And so for anyone out there that doesn't know what CYC is, can you tell me what CYC is and what role they play at Contact?
Yeah, CYC stands for Contact Young Company, and it's an ensemble of around 20 young actors, performers, musicians, dancers, MCs, DJs, and they really sit at the heart of Contact. They're our in-house ensemble, and they create around 3 shows each year in the building here at Contact, but also in interesting kind of locations around the city. They often work with partner companies, so they just made a show with High Rise Theatre from London. They've worked with Slung Low, with Stacey McKeeshy, worked with amazing artists, and they create really exciting professional standard performances and shows.
Amazing. And is it the same cohort every time, or does it change?
Changes all the time. We recruit right across Greater Manchester.
Okay.
So the young people come from all over. They're aged 15 to 25, so it's quite a broad age range. And it goes from young people right to artists who are just really emerging as young professionals in their own right. And we recruit each year for the ensemble, and as I say, they make around 3 shows, and then kind of a new cohort comes in.
Great.
Kind of nice as well, like watching like the sort of like older cohorts kind of develop into other work on other aspects of Contact as someone from the outside anyway. It's kind of really fun to sort of know my artist friends who have came through that process and are now doing really amazing things. So yeah, it feels like a really great company.
Yeah, lots of the company members then go on to like work as assistants on the next show, or they get employment opportunities with the companies that they've just collaborated with. So it was also, it's really a good kind of development platform for their own careers.
It seems like a real journey, kind of being a part of CYC and being able to also develop and progress, or maybe even find some things that you're into that you never knew that you was into before as well. So it sounds great. So Everything All of the Time is described as a physical and visual journey through a new world. So what will it look like for audiences, and what can you tell us about the content of the show, Yandass?
Oh, we're quite early in the sort of like making phase of the process. I'd say that we're in the workshop phase, sort of like an R&D chance, and it's a really great chance actually for the company to come together, and whatever's gonna happen is always gonna be from within the team. I think, especially with this process that we're working through. So it's kind of nice that actually these first few weeks is about the team kind of gelling together and finding their language within the space, their movement language. I think what you are going to see, and I think Mark can kind of like explain a little bit more about it, is just an expression of just like sort of young artists just going crazy. Like, do you know what I mean? In different levels, and I think, and because I think like you've already explained how different the cohort is. There's quite a multidisciplinary sort of aspects and really talented people who kind of not only do physical, but actually it's about how do we utilize all of those different skills and use the physicality as like a through line and a common like thread within the show. But I think it's very exciting because also we're in the big space, so we have a really great chance to like just go sick.
Yeah, it's really, it's definitely going to be a very physical show, and we're exploring what different things they can express through movement and through dance. And it's also really, the show is definitely not about the pandemic or about lockdown or anything like that, but there's a group of young people who have not collaborated and not been with other young people for quite a long time. School and unis have not even started again, and so there definitely is this sense of like, actually the world has changed. They've been through a huge amount over the last 18 months, and they are kind of emerging into a world that has changed. And so how do you explore that and express those feelings, but through movement and through dance? I think there's going to be a lot of shows in the next year that are just about the pandemic. I mean, I think there'll be a lot of youth theatre made about lockdown, made about all of that kind of stuff, and we're not really addressing that in any explicit or head-on way, but it's in the mix.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. Thank you. And Yandass, you're choreographing the work. You've given us kind of an insight into the process of how you're going to create. So with kind of coming fresh out of a pandemic and doing a show like Movement and kind of being close to one another, interacting, how has that been when being in the room with the group? Are they quite comfortable with it? Are some quite held back? Like how's the dynamic?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like I think just with not just with the work that we do. I think just in all of society there is a massive change, and there's a bit of anxiety and a bit of I don't know what to do. Like, you know, we've had so many rules, like 2 meters, not 2 meters. So I think there's always going to be that little bit of anxiety. But I think creating a space, and I think, you know, having Sam who works a lot with like access and how to kind of take care of each other in the space. It's been really great kind of having that on quite early in the sessions, so that as a group we can understand each other's needs and kind of and because it's a young company as well, there is a lot of care as well. The level of work is very professional, but there is also like the level of care of like, actually, you know, how do we take care and how do we make sure that everyone in the space is comfortable. For me, how I work is very much like a push thing. Is very much like, you know, let's get into the space and let it all out, and then when you walk out, go and get an ice bath, go and get like whatever you need to get to like make sure that you think it. So I think that there is that kind of element of like pushing and feeling like, you know, you've given enough for your team members, but also you know, being conscious of like, actually we haven't been as physical for a long time. So fitness, we, you know, how do we make sure that we take care of each other's fitness levels? How do we make sure that we warm down properly, warm up properly, and just those techniques as well at home. How do you make sure that people do know about cold showers or whatever that people might need to do, do you know what I mean, to take care of their bodies? So yeah, there is a lot, but I think we have got a really great team that also isn't just, you know, sometimes for me anyway, I might be focused so much on like the movement stuff, but there is like, you know, Matt, Sam, who are very kind of on it as well in terms of like that care and just, yeah, taking it easy.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And Matt, what does it mean to be directing the opening show of Contact's new season?
Feels really exciting because we've been out of the Contact building for 3 years, unbelievably. We've done a massive redevelopment of the building, created new spaces, but one of the things we've done is kind of refurbished the main performance space, Space 1, so there's new lighting rig, new sound system, new PA, new lighting desk. So one of the things that we were really looking forward to is really showing off the new space. But also, you know, it's quite a lot of pressure as well to be opening the building with a brand new show, working with a young ensemble. It's the first time I've worked with a young company for a long time. So I'm also quite scared.
But it's good to use those nerves at the same time, right? To kind of like fuel you through it as well. Like,
fear is a good thing.
Yeah,
sometimes.
100%. And with doing a show like Movement, if you're ever feeling nervous, just freestyle, just get moving. Channel that energy through your body, you know.
Literally, just freestyle.
What key themes are you and the rest of the team responding to?
So it's essentially a dance piece, really, or a physical piece, and the audience can interpret that for themselves. We're definitely responding to what the young people themselves are interested in and what they're dealing with in their lives, and then trying to find a way to express that and explore that through physical theatre and through movement. But the audience will just experience something that is kind of immersive, that's quite loud, very visual, very exciting, lots of movement, and they can interpret that and find their own meanings through it. And I think for me that's a bit the difference between theatre and dance, really. I really love dance because you can find your own interpretations, you can find your own meanings between what it means for you will be different to what the person sat next to you is kind of responding to.
Which I think, sorry, I was just going to say it helps with like the balance of, you know, if these young people are devising it themselves, but what if a lot of people's journey or stories or movement is about being in the pandemic and in COVID, I guess that it kind of, it doesn't mean that the show is going to still feel that way, like it's all about COVID or the pandemic, because although to that individual, their movement journey might be about that, I could interpret it as an audience member as like completely different.
Exactly.
Right?
I think that is what essentially we're interested in.
Yeah.
You know, is what are you feeling? How do you express that through movement? But then how does that change in terms of how someone else will interpret it?
Yes.
You know, so one gesture for one person could be something that's kind of reminds them of someone in their own lives, but the performer has no control over that interpretation. And I love that about dance. Everyone takes it in their own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the company themselves, they're definitely exploring what they're dealing with as young people, and we can't pretend the pandemic's not part of that. Of course it is part of it, but it's also not everything.
100%.
You know, they're also like seeing the news, what's going on with climate change, what's going on in Afghanistan, what's going on with Black Lives Matter, what's going on with, you know, and that's where the title comes from as well. Everything all of the time is just like this overload of stuff that young people are feeling passionate about, feeling angry about, feeling excited about, and it's like this overwhelm of things and emotions and politics and stuff. So actually, how do you deal with that through movement? How do you express some of those feelings through dance? And that's, for me, is really exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
I think it kind of like you're right, it is very different, and it can get even more detailed, I think, than theatre can, because I think I always have this image of like a lion in heels, like moving at night. You can't possibly see that image, whereas like in dance you could, do you know what I mean? Like in dances you could, that could literally be the dancer's stimuli, but for what that then does for the audience is that actually they're like, oh, there's this powerful being who's moving. Do you know what I mean? Whatever they then take from it, it becomes quite interesting. So I think what's really interesting about themes as well is that you there isn't like you. I think the more that you start delving into certain big themes, it kind of takes you away from the potential of what can happen in space, and actually just having certain moments that happen visually because that one dancer is moving in this way and another dancer is maybe moving in an opposite way, and what that creates, you can't necessarily be like, this is the theme, but what we will start creating is certain languages, certain movement languages, certain repertoires that both us as the company and the audiences will start to recognize through the show. So yeah, the themes become very, very different in sense of like they're not conceptual necessarily. They're more, what is the language, what is the different languages that you're going to see, or what is the different kind of pieces that you're going to see within that then kind of create this kind of collective idea or collective like thought.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. I'm excited to see how it develops and how you get from being where you are now in this workshop stage to actually having a full show on movement and depth and themes, whatever they may result in being. So kind of tell me, how does it feel to be back working in contact space and having access to like the various spaces in the building, but also knowing that you're going to have a full show in Space One? How does that feel?
I'm really excited to be back in the building. It's really great to put this amount of brilliant resource and space for young people to be creative in. Often young people are making work in not great circumstances. They're kind of struggling for access to space, to resource. But at Contact, because the young people are the most important people in the building really, they get the best resources, they get the big space, they get the best equipment, they get the most time in the building, and it just feels really exciting to be around that. But also just to see them connecting with each other is really great. It's really beautiful, because for a lot of them, it's been a period where that has been a struggle. You know, they've been dealing with a lot and a lot of isolation and loneliness in the mix over the last year and a half. So some of them, even in the last Contact Young Company process, was saying the most valuable thing actually was not the show, it was the connecting with each other, feeling part of a group, making new friends, and that there was a sort of healing process about that as well. And I hope this show can be the same for this ensemble.
And how does that feel as like chief executive, being able to welcome people and have people in the building and have young people almost take over the spaces after 3 years of not being able to necessarily do that?
Yeah, it feels really important that we're doing that now, because particularly when creative opportunities have been locked down, or because of cuts and because of austerity and because of what's happening in the national curriculum, with kind of the loss of creative and art subjects, it just feels really important that a place like Contact exists, where young people can access a recording studio for free, where they can get a rehearsal space, where they can get on stage, work with a lighting rig and a sound system. Just feels like more important than ever that there is a place where that can happen, and it can happen for free.
I was going to ask, sorry Yandass, I wanted to ask, like, last time we were in the building together was 2017 when we did Flexing, I think. So how does it feel for you to be back in that, in Space 3 and back in the building and working with other young people rather than you being like the participant this time?
Yeah, like it's definitely like, it's great. Like I'm a big advocate of like every artist should feel like the theatre spaces are theirs, and every artist should be able to see the potential of their work being in that space. Whether it's a young artist being like, actually with a bit of guidance I can see my work being up there, or a very established artist who's like, actually I know that with a bit of communication I can see my work being in there. I think that should be something that should just feel for artists, because that is our thing. And I think what's really important, especially for theatre spaces, is having that space that like people can just be like, actually I know I can just go and chill. Like, as much as it is about like, I know I can go and do a recording or whatever, it's just somewhere that I know I can go and chill. I know I can go and have a conversation with someone at reception, and I won't be looked at a little bit differently, or won't feel uncomfortable in the space. I know it's my space. I think that's really important, and I think Contact kind of has that feel. And I think especially for the young people that are involved in this process, I hope that that's something that they can definitely feel too afterwards, and hopefully spread out to their friends as well, because I think that's how you get the community engaging even more. But in terms of like what that feels like as well with the moving, it's very exciting, and obviously like now it's completely revamped, so it's like even more gas. And actually during lockdown as well, we the space was open to us, which felt like a very exciting opportunity to be like, actually this space is for artists, and where it's possible there will be access. And it was like about 15 of us, and obviously we filmed it during lockdown, but we were able to like in the studio, we're actually in the studio, but we're able to walk through the spaces, and there's so many videos of us just walking through the space, like singing along and just like bringing the space alive. And for me it was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the space like back filled up with all these different people. So yeah, it is really exciting to kind of see what journey that's going to take as well, as we're like just chilling, like, do you know what I mean, just chilling in a theatre space is really great, because what happens in the room is really great, but actually all the banter, all the music, all the ideas that are created outside are really important, because that's where the new work comes in. That's where people are like, we can work together. Do you know what I mean? So it's really exciting. Yeah,
being able to have that human interaction, like in 4D. I've been calling it 3D, and someone the other day was like, it's actually 4D, and I was like, oh yeah, because you've got all the senses and everything, and I think we appreciate it so much more now, and it's great that you've got the opportunity to be able to be in the space and do a movement show that is all about people connecting, but also expressing themselves not only through words, because I think through the pandemic, everyone's been talking. We've not been doing much movement actually, and I think movement enables you to feel and connect with yourself in a way that doesn't have to be justified. So I'm really excited to see what happens, and the individual journeys that everyone goes on. So just to finish us off, can you both tell me what your hopes are for CYC in the future?
I think, as I mentioned, I guess throughout is I'm so aware, just because I also came through from a young company, even though it wasn't CYC. I'm so aware of how important these spaces are, and like you're saying, that there's been so many cuts, and there's been so many sort of like not really great support for young people and emerging artists. And for me, like, young companies are a place where you can get really hands-on with like the professional work, but also know that you have that training, know that you have that support, and develop those kind of conversations. So for me, I guess it's just bigger. I guess if anything, I'd say, like, you know, bigger, making sure that, like, and I think like you're already doing, of how else can we spread out to as many different art forms as they are, you know, dance, acting, spoken word, clowning, miming, like whatever, like how, like stage fighting. How can we make sure that, you know, the young people that are coming up are like as diverse, as filled up as much as possible, so that the work that we kind of get and we get to enjoy and watch later on, it's just like filled up with fire and exciting ideas. I think that, yeah, that's my CYC, but I think it's already happening. I think that, and hopefully more opportunities for paid work, especially for like the older CYC members. I think it's, especially for, again, from coming from a young company kind of background, it's like, how else can we like boost that up? And I think that's support, maybe even from the community, from even other artists as well, collaborating and making sure that they do come and watch the contact young shows. They do come and watch, and they do kind of pick up artists as well. I think it's really important.
Great, thank you.
I'm just really looking forward to when the public come back in the building, and like the show doesn't exist till the public are watching it.
Yeah.
And being together in that. In the theatre, you know, because for a lot of people it's been a long time since they've had that communal experience of being in the theatre. So I'm really looking forward to the young company being the first thing that we present in the building. And then for the young company kind of going forwards, I want them to grow their profile nationally. So we're talking to some of our partner companies about presenting them in London, taking a previous show on tour, connecting them to Europe and internationally, doing more exchanges between the young company, working with young companies from other parts of the world. So we've got so many ideas. And part of that is digital. I think the digital is enabling people to collaborate internationally. And there's been a lot of learning through the pandemic of how you can be creative and stay creative while you're remote. But I also want the young company to just be getting out there in the world and, you know, get on tour.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm so excited about the future for the young company. Big time.
That is exciting. That is mad.
Yeah,
That sounds awesome.
100%. Well, thank you both for joining us today. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Cheers.